So we have just a few minutes to wrap that exercise up. If there's any discoveries or experiences you'd like to share with the group. Any impasses that you came to? Any? Yes.
In Anwar's experience, I think it was difficult to find a positive intention.
Find a positive intention for
in the behavior that was directed at her.
That was directed at her.
Yes. But when she got into the person, I think one of the things that she discovered is this person's behavior was her own limitation. It didn't have a lot to do with her.
Yes.
And that was enough to free her from this thing.
So associating into the other person and experiencing their relationship to this issue then released her from...
Well, the person used to say that Anwar was worthless.
Okay.
But when she got inside that person,
Yes.
she realized that was her stuff. It wasn't Anwar's stuff.
Ah.
She got a separation.
So she realized that this was about this person.
Yes.
Who was saying that you're worthless. It was about what was going on for them in their lives. And it wasn't directed at knowing who you were. It was directed at you, but it wasn't knowing you, right?
She didn't have to own it anymore.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. So that's the power of a perceptual position shift in a re-imprinting like this experience. Because Anwar was asking Anne, what was the turning point? And so the turning point can be at any point in the re-imprinting process. One thing can happen that can really shift that experience. And so when you come across an objection or an impasse like that during the process, that's usually going to be where you can break it loose. So you really want to take your time to work through that moment. Yeah, Jim.
I like this process. What I've done with it is, it doesn't make any difference if they have a positive intention or not. Just give them a positive intention. Allow them to have it. This is something that you're trying to do for yourself, so lying is okay. It's perfectly okay to lie about all this. That's the way I look at it.
I call it pretending.
Sure, if you're going to give yourself resources,
Pretending.
why hold back? I mean, if you want a cup, I want a steam shovel, man. Yeah,
Bring them on.
sure.
Bring them on.
Lots of different ways, as long as it's respectful, right? As long as it's respectful.
Long as it's respectful for the person, yeah.
I guess
Just want to make
Or
sure that's
not.
in there.
It just depends on
Make
the
sure
person.
that's in there. That's one of my operating beliefs. Maybe not be yours or somebody else's. Anything else?
I guess that's also true for finding that point.
Finding
We may
that
not
point?
know exactly when the point was. We can manufacture it or pretend that we know and assume that we do, and then look around and see where we are.
What's that point mean?
Well, like in my case, I had a sense that it was that time in
At that
school.
point
Yes,
at
that
which
point
the
in
shift
history,
begins to...
yes.
Oh, that point in history.
Sorry, yes, for the impasse.
Okay.
Not being very clear.
Well, like, the trauma procedure is another one where we try and find the original event. And I've done the procedure many, many, many times with people and don't always find the trauma procedure. Don't always find the original event, and sometimes just do it with the latest one. But again, with your hypnotic language, then you can generalize it to all the past experiences and all the future without really knowing what they are. I mean, that's the beauty of all these tools that you have, is that it's all, you can make something work if you know what tool to use, in a given moment. And the only way to know that is to practice. Is to work with it, to discover what works when and how and so on. One of the things that I know from my own work is that if I have patience, the change will emerge, or the answer, or where to go. When I was in my practice early on, I many times came across moments where I felt like I didn't know what to do. Yeah, stuck. I don't know what to say next. I don't know what to ask. I don't know where they are. I don't know where I am. So I say, excuse me, I have to use the restroom. I'll be right back. Out of the office I go, down to the restroom. What do I need to do with this? Where do I need to go? Just give myself a little space to get out of that unresourceful place. Okay, what I need to do is reestablish my resourceful place inside myself. Then re-enter the space with that and see what emerges. What is the next question that I can ask? And just go with it. But I always have to remember that I have to be in a powerful place. And so if I'm feeling anxious or nervous or stuck or whatever that might be, nothing's going to emerge. I mean, how many of us have been in a situation where you were so nervous that all your attention went to the nervous and your brain just shut off? And you're like, no picture, no sounds, no words, just So you have to find a re-access to that resource. Pause for a second. Find that access. And then the brain calms down, body calms down, then you can think again. All right, so 4:30. Promised you a conversational belief change. Now there is an example in your notes. Which implies that there is a, quote, conversational belief change. That's just one example. What I'd rather do is do one free form, where I don't follow any steps, and I don't, ask any particular questions. I just go with what's there. Is that interesting? Okay. So we will see how far I can get with the belief change in 15 or 20 minutes. And maybe we'll get it done, and maybe we'll just make some progress on it, or maybe we'll discover something more about it. Don't know. But we'll just go with whatever comes. So who has a belief that they'd like to work with? I know I've been asking that a lot. But I'm sure you still have some left. How about you, Jim?
Nothing actually comes to mind right away.
How about you, Alessandra?
I think I've changed a lot.
Some of you that haven't been up here in the front of the room. That hasn't been up at all. I mean,
I can get a feeling what I want to change. Belief. Surely there's something. Can I work on one that we worked on earlier? Again? Can we do one again?
unless it's changed.
Well, it's changed, but
I don't want to change one that's changed.
well,
That doesn't sound like much of a challenge. Let's go change. I got it already. If you can't find one, I'm sure somebody will find one. I don't want you to feel forced up here.
no, I don't feel forced at all. I just worked on so many beliefs. Okay, I've got one for you.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have this belief that I have to really work hard. And I do. Man, do I work hard.
You have to work hard for what?
For whatever I want. Or just for the sheer satisfaction of working, too. I enjoy working. Probably enjoy it too much. So I probably work too hard. So I'm kind
You
of...
enjoy working too much?
Well, I enjoy work, and I tend to overdo it. I tend to overdo just about everything I do.
According to whom?
To me. And, well, according to everybody that knows me. My wife, if you may call it, yeah. So I tend
So I
to.
really want to check and make sure that
Okay.
that's yours
Uh,
and not it's according to other people.
no, it is mine. I want to be able to work hard, but I should, probably should lighten up, have more fun too.
You probably should.
Yeah, well, I know I should. I know I should.
How come? How does that should work?
Well, a person shouldn't abuse an instrument. I mean, you don't have to wear a saw out, so I shouldn't wear myself out, even doing things I enjoy. So I'm a little older than I used to be. Need to respect that, I think.
Do you hear the difference in a should and a desire, though? Wanting something versus feeling like you should do something?
Yeah.
How often does should motivate you to do something?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of shoulds in my life. Too many, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you that my experience is that most people resist shoulds.
Okay.
And I just want you to check in and
Okay.
see how that feels to you. When you hear a should inside yourself, does that inspire you to do it?
No. 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 It's not.
Do you feel some resistance?
A little. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you should. Say it again. You should what? You should stop working so hard?
Yeah. So should we need to rephrase it? So.
I don't know. I'm just asking. Is it still there like that?
I don't know.
I'm just wondering if that's how you want it. Do you
Yeah.
want shoulds that you have to resist?
No, absolutely not.
So how do you want it to be? I mean, have you been unable so far to obey this should? To stop working so hard?
Yeah, I haven't had much luck with it. That's true.
So even though your belief is that you should, it hasn't really served you in any way,
No.
has it? Has it created a limitation?
Well, it had served me in the past, but it's not served me as well today.
How has it served you in the past?
Um,
That you should stop working so hard?
I wasn't looking at it that way. Working hard, my point is, in the past, working hard, there were times when it served me well because it was necessary. Now, I'm working just as hard, and it's not necessary. I guess that's the point.
Ah. Okay. So you were working hard in the past out of necessity.
Yeah.
And now you're working hard out of...
I'm not really sure why I'm working so hard now.
Hmm.
That doesn't make any sense.
That may be worth exploring.
Yep.
Yeah?
I think it would be, yes.
What's important about working hard, Jim?
Well, well, I'd like to accomplish a lot in life. Certainly don't want to be lazy.
Ooh.
Um,
Think there might be a belief there?
well, I'm sure there's a belief there, yeah. Yeah,
What is it?
yeah. Well, that belief is I don't want to be lazy.
Right. So if you stop working hard, then you're lazy?
Well, hopefully not.
I'm just...
No, I don't want to go from working hard to being lazy, no. Surely there's got to be a place in between I can live with, you know.
Surely there's got to
Gee,
be.
an extreme. Either work hard or you're lazy. You know.
Well, I'm just checking it out. I'm trying to find the belief that supports you now working hard. Because you said it used to be that it was necessary.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But there's some updating going on,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not true anymore.
That's right.
It's not necessary to work that hard.
That's true.
And yet you haven't updated it yet.
I
So
have not.
I'm sort of exploring what belief is holding that in place then. You know, and that's why we sort of began to broach that possibility, because you said, I don't want to be lazy.
Yeah.
So is there a complex equivalence or a cause effect there? You know, if I don't work hard, I'm lazy, or and you go, no,
Yeah,
you're not sure that that's there.
I'm not sure, no.
So imagine for a minute not working hard.
Okay.
Is there anything wrong with that?
No, I've earned a rest.
Ah, you've earned a rest.
I have earned a rest, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what stops you from taking that rest?
Nothing. There's nothing stopping me from taking the rest
You mean anymore?
anymore. Yeah. There's nothing stopping me.
Are you sure
Take
about
my-
that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I do like to work. That's the irony of this. I love to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How hard?
How? Well, I like to work hard, but I don't want to be extreme at it either.
Has it been?
Yeah.
So do you know how to cut back?
Yeah. Yeah. I do.
You do?
Yeah.
And it won't be lazy.
I won't be lazy.
So you know just the right amount to cut it back, but still enjoy working hard.
Sure I do.
You do?
Absolutely.
Can you tell me something about that?
Yeah. Well, I manage a lot of folks, but sometimes it's easier just to do something than it is to get some other folks to do it.
Right.
But they can do a lot of it. And it's just the time has come to let them do it. Yeah,
Is that okay?
sure. I'm okay with that.
There be any problems with letting them do it?
No,
Sure.
I'm sure.
You said sometimes it's easier to do it.
Yeah, it is sometimes. Yeah, it's not necessary. I don't have to do that. Yeah.
So there's no belief there. You
No.
have to do it if it's easier to do it yourself.
No, I don't have to. Yeah, there's no have to. That's right. There's no have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how to cut back,
Yep.
and you're willing to do that.
Yep.
There's no belief that's going to keep you from doing that. It's not lazy if you cut back.
No.
Okay.
I like this.
And you're still going to get to work hard
If I want to, yeah.
and enjoy that.
Sure.
How about that should? Is that should still there?
Man, I'm just letting go of a lot of those shoulds. Yeah.
Jim, you should cut back on your work. You really should.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that dialogue. Yeah. I used to resemble that remark. Oh, that's good.
So what happens for you in your body when I say that? You really should cut back.
Yeah, I get resistance. Yeah, I get this, I know you're just having fun, but yeah, I get a little resistance there. Yeah.
So I'm just curious if that's still there for you. You still feel like you should cut back.
Well, I don't see it that way anymore. I don't feel like I should. I can do either or.
Oh, okay.
Sure. Yeah,
You sure about that?
I'm sure about that. I can work hard or not.
You can work hard or not.
Sure.
Very nice. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Anybody know what belief we changed? Do you know?
Yeah.
What belief did we change?
That I should do anything.
Oh, that you should do anything. Wow.
Whatever I want.
I didn't realize I changed that much of it. Thought it was just the I should not work so hard. Did you see the shift? And how he describes it now? I really tested it pretty strongly at the end there to really make sure. So where was the point that I was working on him doubting that? Did I do that? Did you see that happening?
When there was hard work and lazy.
That was a possible belief I was exploring. Is that there?
I thought maybe that was a belief that held us in place.
Exactly. That's what I thought maybe. So I needed to really dive in there and find out if that was there. And he was like, no, I think there's something in between. So he negated that possibility that that was a complex equivalence. When he stated that there's a place in between, surely there's a place in between, he's starting to try and find it, isn't he? And what was happening was, from my perspective, the should was holding him from getting to that place. Because as long as he should cut back, then you have to resist the should, so then you can't cut back, right? Is that right? That feels kind of like how it was? Yeah. Any observations of that?
Sort of like a double bind, too. isn't
A
it?
double bind?
Sort of.
How so?
Well, he's got it set up so he can't move by having the should and maybe the laziness. I don't know what the other pieces of it are, but it was like he's going back and forth like this, which keeps him in one place, basically.
Doesn't create a lot of freedom, right?
Right.
So when I hear that kind of language, as you all learned in your meta model, when you hear should, ought to, must, have to, right, you want to challenge those, right? You want to find counterexamples. You want to explore if that's really true or not. Begin to give the person some opportunity to open around that, to consider another possibility. So I asked him, does should get you to do stuff that you want to do? He's like, no. So that's where we really examined that that belief was a limitation, was creating a limitation. It wasn't in service of getting that to happen, right? For you?
Also brought in some credibility from elsewhere, didn't you? That your experience was that in other people's lives, should isn't a very motivating thing. Popped that suggestion.
Yeah, that's a example of like quotes, right? From your Milton model background. Using, my experience says this, and just checking it with him. Does that resonate for you? Does that connect for you? What's your experience of that? And then try it on, see what that's like. So there were a number of things that kind of moved things in different directions. And I hope you saw a lot of that and found some value in that. I didn't make many statements, did I? There's a lot of questions, right? A lot of questions. But at the same time, I used different intonations, right? You should, huh? That kind of thing, right? To help him move his experience again. I'd have to watch it again to really pull it all apart. I can't remember everything that was happening, but that's an example of a conversational belief change, free form, with that structure in mind. How do I get him to doubt something first that's already there so that we can open to another possibility without even naming what it was, right? And then at the end, the new belief emerged. Well, I can I can do it any way I want to do it, right? And what does it feel like? Does it have some freedom to it, or openness, or yeah, lightness?
Burden's gone, yeah.
The burden's gone. Nice. So it doesn't have to take that long. Now, some of these can be obviously much more in depth and multiple beliefs conflicting and that kind of thing, and so it can be a little more rigorous. How about a closing story? Yeah? Any final comments or anything? Okay. Final story. I read this story often at the end of my seminars. It's called, Are There Any Questions? Are there any questions? An offer that comes at the end of college lectures and long meetings. Said when an audience is not only overdosed with information, but when there is no time left anyhow. At times like that, you sure do have questions like, can we leave now? And what the hell was this meeting for? And where can I get a drink? The gesture is supposed to indicate openness on the part of the speaker, I suppose. But if in fact you do ask a question, both the speaker and the audience will give you drop-dead looks. And some fool, some earnest idiot, always asks, and the speaker always answers by repeating most of what he has already said. But if there's a little time left, and there's a little silence in response to the invitation, I usually ask the most important question of all. What is the meaning of life? You never know. Somebody may have the answer, and I'd really hate to miss it because I was too socially inhibited to ask. But when I ask, it's usually taken as a kind of absurdist move. People laugh and nod and gather up their stuff, and the meeting is dismissed on that ridiculous note. Once and only once, I asked that question and got a serious answer, one that is with me still. By the time I came to the Institute for summer session, Alexander Papaderos had become a living legend. One look at him and you saw his strength and intensity, energy, physical power, courage, intelligence, passion, and vivacity radiated from his person. And to speak to him, to shake his hand, to be in a room with him when he spoke, was to experience his extraordinary electric humanity. Few men live up to their reputations when you get close. Alexander Papaderos was an exception. At the last session on the last morning of a 2-week seminar on Greek culture, led by intellectuals and experts in their fields who were recruited by Papaderos from across Greece, Papaderos rose from his chair at the back of the room and walked to the front, where he stood in the bright Greek sunlight of an open window and looked out. We followed his gaze across the bay and to the iron cross marking the German cemetery. He turned and made the ritual gesture. Are there any questions? Quiet quilted the room. These 2 weeks had generated enough questions for a lifetime. But for now, there was only silence. No questions? Papaderos swept the room with his eyes. So I asked, Dr. Papaderos, what is the meaning of life? The usual laughter followed, and people stirred to go. Papaderos held up his hand and stilled the room and looked at me for a long time, asking with his eyes if I was serious, and seeing from my eyes that I was. I will answer your question. Taking his wallet out of his hip pocket, he fished into a leather billfold and brought out a very small round mirror about the size of a quarter. And what he said went like this. When I was a small child, during the war, we were very poor and we lived in a remote village. One day on the road, I found the broken pieces of a mirror. A German motorcycle had been wrecked in that place. I tried to find all the pieces and put them together, but it was not possible. So I kept only the largest piece. This one. And by scratching it on a stone, I made it round. I began to play with it as a toy and became fascinated by the fact that I could reflect light into dark places where the sun would never shine, in deep holes and crevices and dark closets. It became a game for me to get light into the most inaccessible places I could find. I kept the little mirror, and as I went about my growing up, I would take it out in idle moments and continue the challenge of the game. As I became a man, I grew to understand that this was not just a child's game, but a metaphor for what I might do with my life. I came to understand that I'm not the light or the source of the light, but light, truth, understanding, knowledge is there, and it will only shine in many dark places if I reflect it. I am a fragment of a mirror whose whole design and shape I do not know. Nevertheless, with what I have, I can reflect light into the dark places of this world, into the black places in the hearts of men, and change some things in some people. Perhaps others may see and do likewise. This is what I am about. This is the meaning of my life. And then he took his small mirror and, holding it carefully, caught the bright rays of daylight streaming through the window and reflected them onto my face and onto my hands folded on the desk. Much of what I experienced in the way of information about Greek culture and history that summer is gone from memory. But in the wallet of my mind, I carry a small round mirror still. Are there any questions? Thank you for sharing these 2 days with me.